Hello, my name is Steve Prokopy. I'm the Chicago editor for Ain't It Cool News. I write under the name Capone, and welcome to Studio SX. We are here today at South by Southwest with the creative team behind the new film Four Boxes, which has its world premiere here at South by Southwest very soon. We have Megan Huber, the producer of the film, and the writer-director of the film, Wyatt McDill. Guys, you described this to me as a rear window for the internet era. Can you just tell us a little bit about the film and maybe some of the ideas that went into the writing of it, I guess?
Yeah, well, we started out with a very simple conceit, Rear Window on the internet, so it would be people watching a surveillance cam website and trying to figure out what's going on inside the website. But just like the original Hitchcock, I think it, of course, turns out to be a lot about the people who are watching as well. And where the internet is concerned, it explores how people watch the internet too. So it started out as a little conceit for a thriller, and it ended up being about this modern world.
Right. Can you talk a little about, I mean, there is definitely more than maybe any other time in history, this voyeur culture that is just everywhere, every age group. And it has made people extremely paranoid about where cameras are and where they're being tracked and stolen identities, and you kind of tap into a lot of this in the film. And you also set the film. I think it says sometime around 2005. To explain first of all why you did that, because I think it's all connected.
Right. Well, I think we set the film in 2005 because it just felt like it was sort of should be set in the Bush era, and we weren't sure when exactly our film was going to premiere, and wanted to set it when the film was written and have it, feel like that time. I think that was a pretty special time in history, and I think a lot of the fear and paranoia that the characters have was sort of around in that time, and hopefully we'll be moving out of that era onto the next.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit just about cheers. Let's talk a little bit about just sort of the germ of the idea through the today, or so when your film premieres tomorrow, and what's the time span there, and how did you kind of get it going, Wyatt?
Well, I guess I think it's been 3 years since I penned the script, and then we spent about a year getting the script ready, and then we shot it about a year and a half ago. Yeah,
and I think Wyatt's a very practical, creative guy. Like, it was a script that he had another script that was going to be optioned that sort of fell through, and so we realized if we wanted to make a movie on our own, we learned a lot through that process. We needed to have something that we could actually produce. Like, we didn't need anyone else. We could do it all ourselves and with the people we knew and had access to, which is a lot of people. But so Wyatt took these components and put them together and tried to make the most interesting and creative story that he could come up with those parameters, and I think he did a great job. I think it's a really tight script and has a lot of great twists.
Yeah, and the actors you got are top notch, and I got to admit, I was surprised in a first feature that you got Justin Kirk, who may not be the most recognizable name, but he certainly has a lot of film and TV to his credit. And how did you get your cast together, especially Justin?
I started laying the groundwork for Four Boxes when I was 12 years old. That's when Justin and I met and became friends in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And we have been good friends ever since, so we always talked about doing something together, and we talked about other projects too, but they kind of fell away, or for one reason or another. Got him the script for Four Boxes, and he liked it a lot, and
worked out with his schedule. I mean, I think the thing about this project is it was extremely lucky. Like, Justin was doing a shoot in New York for Against the Current right beforehand, and we were shooting in the fall, and his schedule opened up and he could come, and things like that. We got Sam Rosen, who was from Minneapolis also, and he was an actor that we had seen. He was probably like 22 or something in a play in Minneapolis, and we just called him up, and he was someone we remembered and thought that he would be great for the part, and gave him a call. And Taryn Westbrook was someone that Justin knew that he had never worked with, and she was also amazing. I mean, I think there was a lot of trust that was involved in the casting, and it all paid off. It was great. I think we got a great cast.
Yeah. Talk about just a little bit about being here. I realize you've only been here for a little while and you haven't even shown your film yet.
Yeah.
But what are you kind of hoping to come away from this festival having, and are you completely, biting your nails I was like just anticipating that first screening tomorrow.
No, I don't think I'm not nervous about tomorrow because I think we tried to make the best film we could. And, we never slacked off. We've been working hard on it.
Yeah.
It's good. We've shown it to some people, so we kind of know people like it a little bit. And so, if people don't like it, they don't like it. That's what happens with the work of art, You try your best, and it's straight from the heart.
Yeah.
It's something only we could have made, and we did our best, and so let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
And you're from Minneapolis, or from Minnesota, and you shot it there too, right?
Yeah.
Is there a Minneapolis or Minnesota film scene today?
Yeah, I think that there is. I mean, there's a huge community there of, support people. I think that was part of the reason why we got the movie we have, is because of the people that are in Minnesota that really chipped in, and vendors, and everyone was really supportive and behind us, and I think that's what you need to get films like these made. You need a huge community of people that will help and get behind you, and we definitely have that in Minnesota. Yeah.
And you shot this on DV. Pros and cons of that experience, both during the shoot and then in post?
I mean, I think for us it was all pros. I mean, we shot on standard def with like the 35 millimeter adapter, and then up-res to HD afterwards, which we did research and looked at some other movies that had done the same thing, used the same camera, and so I think we got a great look for our budget. I think it was definitely the best way for us to go.
Yeah, no complaints.
Yeah.
And so what I asked you before about being here, what do you kind of hope to come away from this whole experience, showing the film a few times?
Right.
What do you want to happen after that, other than maybe the obvious?
Yeah, right. I think that it's going to be really fun to show the film.
I know, we're so excited.
It's a film that's very organic. It just kind of came right out of the culture, so we're hoping that people see themselves mirrored in this story a little bit, and if that happens, like tomorrow night, then maybe there will be more people at the next screening, and if people don't see themselves in it, then there'll be less people. But yeah, I guess we're hoping, we can't wait to show it to people because it's about people. So
about people, and
it's about people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is what we're most excited about, is getting our movie in front of an audience, and we've been talking about this 4 boxes for a long time. We have a 5-year-old. He hates the words 4 boxes. He's probably heard it about 1 million times in his life. But yeah, we're super thrilled to get to show it to people and show it to the audience in Austin. I think this is the perfect place to premiere a movie, and being down here has really reinforced that. The people down here, I think, will be receptive to our movie. Yeah.
In addition to the themes of paranoia, you really do kind of get into that whole disconnect that technology and communicating via technology rather than interpersonal, because I think these guys actually, the characters, these 3 characters, communicate better when they're staring at a computer rather than when they're just talking amongst themselves. I mean, that almost could be looked at as cynical.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not cynical.
Yeah, no, it is a dark portrait. I mean, we looked at some film noir, this is a sort of like portrait, a dark portrait of a slice of humanity. So, and it revolves around a technology. The whole story does. So, I think it is a dim view of that, but that's the take that we're doing on this one. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Without giving anything away, there are some twists to the story. How have people that you've shown this to responded to that element of the film?
Megan?
It seems to be going in one very particular direction, and then it veers. And how have people responded to that?
I think we've had some test screenings. Groups of people, friends, and other people, friends of friends, and so far, no one has guessed our twist. Can I say that?
I guess so.
But yeah, so I mean, I think we're...
Yeah. I think that, I don't know, it does have a lot of twists, but I think hopefully it's something where after you watch it, you maybe say, well, I need to watch it again because I didn't know what I was watching. And so we talk a lot about the first-time viewer and the second-time viewer and the difference between them.
It will play differently on second view, for sure. You're going to be looking for things that are probably just sitting right there.
They are, yeah.
Well, I can think of one thing in particular that I can't talk about, but yeah, no, it was a great. But even when you get the clues, you're not quite sure what the clues are telling you. So that was really good.
And I think that was something too through the whole shoot, where why I would come up with these ideas, and it seemed so obvious at the time, but with the finished product, I think it's a lot more subtle than we realized.
Yeah. Well, this came to us during the shoot, and it's very interesting. There's a different sensibility on the web, I think, for filmmaking, which has been informed by YouTube and this democratization of the moving image. And I think the aesthetic is sort of switched a little bit. So that's kind of some of the issues the film plays around with. It's like, and on the web, you almost never see what you want to see. And in a movie, you're always seeing what you want to see because the camera's pointed right at it. Right. But on the web, a lot of times you're like, update the New York Times homepage or whatever it is your particular thing passion is. And it's like, oh, no, nothing new. Well, maybe now. So.
I have to ask you, because I think it's one of the more fascinating things about the film is the dialogue and the dialect, because these people are in Minnesota. I don't know if you actually identify it as Minnesota, so
no.
We don't have that overly Hollywood version of what Minnesota people sound like, but they all speak in, not all the time, but they have this sort of faux gangster speak. But then Taryn also sort of adds in the sort of text message speak, the abbreviations. And how did you, was that kind of written that way, or did the actors come up with that?
No, it was pretty much written that way, I think. Wyatt Street, so he just put it in there.
Clearly.
Yeah. just look at me.
No, I think you hear people talk, these kids talk wherever they talk, and they drop this crazy slang and
the Snoopies.
Yeah.
They're the whitest white kids that ever whited. So I mean, it's funny that they're not even trying to put on any kind of affect. They're just saying the words.
And I do it too. I call my friends dudes. I mean, it's just sort of like you get into the whole thing and you think you're being cool and you're probably totally not. But I think it's pretty accurate.
I thought it would be like funny, basically. A lot of it was just playfulness when we were writing the script, but it would be funny if Taryn's character, one of the characters, couldn't help but speak in textese because she's texting so much. So every time she goes to say something, it just comes out as BRB instead of be right back. So.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about just sort of building the practice of building tension in a film like this. What are your tricks? How do you do it? Because that might be the hardest thing a filmmaker ever have to do.
Yeah, well, this was a good story for my theory of building tension in a movie, which is that there should be a hell of a lot more not showing the story you're telling in movies, I think, because a good movie for me is like when something ends with a question mark and you don't know why something happened or how come they're eating that word, and things are so literal now in movies. I think that's a problem. It's always like, well, it has to be all tied up neatly. Who is the character? How do they interact? How does the story tie up at the end? And I think that's wrong. It's much more interesting to me, like, who is this guy? Why did he get here? I guess I'll never know. I have to figure it out for myself.
Right.
And this was a good story for that theory because as I said earlier, the internet is all about like almost nothing happening.
Yeah.
Right.
And you kind of catch yourself getting caught up in what is essentially just three people staring at a computer screen that, that can't hurt them, and yet they're all terrified and
Right.
they should take some sort of action, but they're too transfixed to really do anything.
Yeah.
So that certainly speaks to our society.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very, I mean, we wanted this to be funny too, this story. It's supposed to be suspenseful, but also like, this is nuts, basically, so.
These aren't the most, these guys are kind of bottom feeders in a way. I mean, they're scavengers.
Definitely.
And
I know, I think if you're the type of movie watcher that wants to like identify yourself with the characters that you're watching and put yourself in their place, I think it's a more difficult movie to watch rather than just watch them sort of distance yourself from them, because they are kind of unattractive, unappealing characters.
Yeah.
But I think it's...
Yeah, we looked at some film noir, as I mentioned, and in those films, the characters always are unsavory, and so that's how we made these characters, kind of.
Yeah.
All right, Wyatt and Megan, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Steve.
thanks, Steve.